Well,
Yeah, it's a bit enticing. It's an interesting one because there's an element of it which is at least like the Instagram stuff and the kind of projection of a particular image is in some way is really damaging, and in some ways it can is not so great in terms of an aspiration, but also in some way we are drawn to it in some way, and that's
absolutely.
and there's something quite strangely challenging about that.
I think we're drawn to it because it's human nature. I think it's human nature, and that's the devisers of these platforms. That they've just tapped into this very human aspect of us, which wants to better ourselves generally. So when we're sold or an image is portrayed, which we are then told is better, then I think it's human nature to strive towards it. I mean, we all want to better ourselves, whether it's the conditions we're living in or whatever it is.
I mean, there is something for aiming towards improvement, but then there is also managing expectations, I guess.
Yes, but there's now we're being sold one story of what improvement or what betterment looks like. It's not about happiness, let's be clear. It's not about that, because I don't believe for a minute that most of these people are happy at all. Because there's no end to it. They achieve something, and then they've got to achieve the next thing, and then the next look, and then the next house,
the next test,
holiday,
the next test, the next test.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the test takers.
So I don't think for a minute that they're happy. It's just that we're being sold this lie that happiness looks a particular way.
Yeah. I want to come back to the point about this idea of challenging the narrative, or the kind of the negation of what's going on. But I think also I'd be curious, there is an industry of happiness now, and it's quite compelling. And we can go on these. We can go to. We can buy our kind of Lululemon and go do a nice yoga session and with the other beautiful people around.
I'm bowing my head in shame.
Well, don't because
I recognise myself.
We all do it.
But the point is that actually there's something useful about it in some way, and actually what is being sold is something that we've been drawn to for a reason. I mean, there's something really important about stretching for an hour in silence, and there's something really important about being in nature for a few days. And so in one way we're being drawn to is useful, but in a way that is maybe also very capitalist at the same time, right? Yeah. And I just find that point quite interesting, actually, because I think what you said about these images in Instagram or whatever is also that, like you said, we're drawn to this thing which is maybe better in a certain way. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently.
Yeah. Well, I think it is really part of the human condition. I think all through history we have wanted to. We've strived to better ourselves. And my mother came to this country because she was told that this was the place where she would better herself. I mean, it's just part of the human condition. So they've actually tapped into that quite successfully, but they've just done it in a way that's quite sinister, because they're selling us a sort of homogenized version of what happiness is. And I think that's probably not accurate.
It's interesting because it's like the immigration thing, I think, is a really useful metaphor, because I'm a second generation immigrant. My mom moved from a village in the south of Italy, and my grandparents, they took a risk, right? And your mom took a risk. And they went to a place that they didn't know. They weren't sure if they were. Well, America in the 50s was maybe a bit different, but it was still a huge risk, and you were taking 8 kids, and you didn't speak the language, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's maybe what made it valuable, was that you were putting your skin in the game. Whereas with the kind of just scrolling through images. There's no risk you're taking actually. You're just trying to strive for something where you're not actually. There's no downside to you just scrolling except for your mental health, but you're not thinking about your mental health.
Yeah, and things become meaningless.
I think they do become meaningless. Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the younger generation because I suspect
but
that, my parents, I suspect our parents said this similar thing about us,
For sure.
But, and I, we've all done a version of it. I coveted a particular pair of shoes when I was, when I got my first job to the extent that I it's not a thing now, because now you can get everything on credit. But I did layaway, I paid down for these fur-lined boots, which were, far above my financial ability to buy outright. So we've all done it.
Yeah.
So I'm not. It's just that I guess it's the pace of it. I guess I don't know if it's different or quicker and more brutal. I don't know. Because I guess when I was putting my deposit down on my fur-lined boots, I had a place to retreat to. I had the boots didn't follow me on my device, or I would then go and hang out with my mates. We would then go to concerts but maybe you guys won't do that anyway. So I don't know.
Well, maybe there is something about the pervasiveness of it. It's just so accessible.
Yeah, it's very accessible.
And the problem is not in the tool, I think. The problem is in the usage of the tool.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, having the capability to buy those fur-lined boots, it wasn't like it's a good thing it's there, like it just gives you the opportunity to, if you want to do something, you can do it. If I want to have an Instagram account that I put, which is what I do, put my portraits in, I do that, but it depends on how you utilize the tool and whether you let that just consume all of your time or not,
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's, I was a latecomer to social media. I joined Facebook in 2017 and Instagram even later than that. I know. I then tried to delete the bloody Facebook account.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it took me ages.
It's